Every income level has a different problem. Most people believe that making more money will solve every financial problem they have. It sounds logical. If you're struggling with bills, a bigger paycheck should fix everything, right? But money has a strange way of changing the questions instead of eliminating them. Someone earning $1,000 a month isn't worried about building wealth. They're focused on making it to Friday without overdrafting their account. Someone earning $10,000 a month isn't thinking about surviving the week. They're trying to figure out why their savings still aren't growing. And someone making six figures every month, their biggest decisions aren't about spending anymore. They're about ownership, taxes, and protecting what they've already built. The higher you climb, the more the game changes. Imagine waking up every morning knowing exactly how much money is sitting in your checking account. Not approximately, exactly. You don't check because you're curious. You check because every dollar determines the rest of your week. Your paycheck arrives, rent is paid almost immediately, and suddenly the account feels empty again. You move money between accounts, hoping everything clears before another bill is processed. A pending transfer becomes something you refresh multiple times a day, even though you know staring at the screen won't make it move any faster. When your balance drops to just a few dollars, every purchase becomes a decision. A coffee isn't just coffee anymore. Ordering takeout feels irresponsible. You memorize grocery prices without trying, because your brain is constantly calculating what you can afford and what has to wait. People often mistake this for poor financial discipline. In reality, it's something much different. Living with very little money forces your brain to perform non-stop calculations. Every decision carries consequences, and every unexpected expense threatens the entire plan. The pressure isn't loud or dramatic. It's quiet, persistent, like background noise that never completely disappears. After a while, you stop noticing it consciously. Your body doesn't. The stress follows you into conversations, into work, even into sleep. You know exactly how many days remain until payday, because those days feel longer than they should. You're not wasting money. You're stretching every dollar further than most people realize is possible. And that is an important distinction. Financial hardship is rarely caused by a lack of effort. More often, it's caused by having no room for error. One flat tire, one medical bill, one missed shift at work. That's all it takes to knock everything off balance. But then something changes. Your income grows. Maybe you land a better job, receive a promotion, or finally catch the break you've been waiting for. Suddenly, you're earning enough that the panic begins to fade. For the first time in years, life feels like it has a little breathing room. What you don't realize yet is that you're about to enter an entirely different financial game. One with new opportunities, hidden traps, and mistakes that look nothing like the ones you just escaped. Getting a raise feels like crossing a finish line. For the first time in a long while, you can breathe without wondering if every swipe of your debit card will be approved. Rent gets paid before it's due. Your refrigerator stays full. You stop checking your bank balance before walking into the grocery store, and that small change feels bigger than anyone around you could understand. Life finally seems normal. You decide it's time to build good financial habits. You open a savings account and set up an automatic transfer of $200 every month. It feels responsible. It feels like the beginning of a new chapter. Then reality interrupts. A warning light appears on your dashboard. The car needs repairs. The unexpected bill wipes out the little savings you've started, and before the second automatic transfer even goes through, you cancel it. The account sits there with a small balance for months, a quiet reminder of a goal you intended to reach but couldn't quite hold on to. Nothing has gone terribly wrong, but nothing has really changed either. This is where millions of people unknowingly become trapped. Higher income creates comfort, but comfort doesn't automatically create wealth. You begin saying yes to things that once felt impossible. Dinner with friends becomes a regular event instead of a rare celebration. You subscribe to more streaming services because each one costs only a few dollars. You upgrade your phone because the monthly payment seems manageable. Maybe you move into a nicer apartment because you've earned it. Individually, none of these choices seem dangerous. Together, they quietly consume every dollar your raise created. Without realizing it, your lifestyle begins expanding at the same speed as your paycheck. Financial experts have a name for this: lifestyle inflation. It's one of the most common reasons people earning $80,000 a year often feel no richer than they did making half that amount. The paycheck grows, the expenses grow with it. The finish line moves further away. Then comes another milestone that feels like proof you've finally figured money out. Your first rewards credit card. Cash back, travel points, purchase protection. It feels like you've joined a club of financially savvy adults. At first, everything goes according to plan. You pay the balance in full. You collect rewards. It almost feels like free money. Then 1 month gets expensive. You tell yourself you'll carry the balance just this once. The minimum payment looks surprisingly affordable, so you make it. Next month, another unexpected expense arrives. Now interest quietly enters the picture. Unlike an emergency bill, interest doesn't announce itself. It doesn't demand attention. It simply waits, growing a little every single day. That's why credit card debt is so dangerous. It doesn't usually begin with reckless spending. It begins with confidence. Confidence that next month will be different. Confidence that one small balance won't matter. Confidence that future income will fix today's decisions. Sometimes it does. Most of the time, it simply makes the debt more expensive. This is the invisible turning point in nearly every financial journey. The people who build lasting wealth don't necessarily earn dramatically more than everyone else. They simply recognize that every raise creates two choices: upgrade your lifestyle or upgrade your future. That decision repeats itself over and over again, year after year, until the results become impossible to ignore. And eventually, if you keep making the right choices, something remarkable happens. You stop asking how much money you can spend, and you start asking how much money your money can earn. That single question changes everything. There comes a point in almost every successful financial journey when your paycheck is no longer the most important number in your life. At first, that idea sounds impossible. After all, for years, your income determined everything. It paid your rent, bought your groceries, covered your bills, and funded your weekends. Every financial decision began with one question: how much do I make? But over time, something changes. Instead of focusing only on earning more, you begin paying attention to what happens after the money reaches your bank account. That's where real wealth begins. Imagine earning around $10,000 each month. You're no longer living paycheck to paycheck, but you also realize something unsettling. Even with a good income, retirement still feels far away. Financial freedom still feels like a distant dream. You start reading books about investing. You listen to finance podcasts during your commute. Late at night, you search topics like "How do wealthy people invest?" or "Best retirement strategies." You save articles with every intention of reading them later. Some you finish. Many you never do. Information becomes easy to collect. Taking action remains the difficult part. Eventually, you open your first investment account. At first, every market movement feels personal. When stocks rise, you feel like a genius. When they fall, you wonder if you've made a terrible mistake. It's an emotional roller coaster that almost every new investor experiences. Then, gradually, experience replaces emotion. You discover that successful investors aren't trying to predict tomorrow. They're preparing for the next 20 years. Instead of chasing headlines or the latest investment trend, you begin buying broad index funds or diversified investments on a consistent schedule. Some months the market is up, other months it's down. You invest anyway, because you've learned one of the most valuable lessons in finance. Consistency usually beats perfect timing. Around the same time, another challenge quietly appears. Your income keeps increasing. So does your lifestyle. The apartment becomes larger. Vacations become more comfortable. Instead of searching for the cheapest flight, you book the one with the fewest layovers. Your gym membership upgrades. Your wardrobe improves. None of these purchases are irresponsible. In fact, you've worked hard for them. That's exactly why they're dangerous. Lifestyle inflation doesn't feel like a mistake. It feels like a reward, and rewards are difficult to question. This is the invisible line separating high earners from wealth builders. High earners spend more because they earn more. Wealth builders increase their investments faster than they increase their expenses. That difference seems small in a single month. After 10 years, it becomes enormous. Soon, your investment portfolio begins reaching milestones you once thought belonged only to other people. $100,000, then $250,000, then maybe even $500,000. You expect fireworks. You expect to wake up feeling different. Instead, nothing dramatic happens. You still drink your morning coffee. You still answer emails. You still worry about ordinary things. But beneath the surface, something extraordinary has changed. Your money has started working, even when you aren't. Some days your investments earn more than you do at your job. Not because you worked harder that day, but because your assets kept growing while you slept. For the first time, Time itself becomes your greatest financial partner instead of your biggest limitation. And once you experience that shift, it's almost impossible to think about money the same way again. Because you realize an uncomfortable truth. Working for money can make you wealthy, but owning assets is what allows wealth to outlive your effort. That's when the game changes completely. For most people, income is tied directly to effort. You work, you get paid. You stop working, the income slows down. It's the pattern almost everyone accepts because it's the only financial system they've ever known. But eventually, successful investors begin asking a different question. What if my income didn't depend entirely on my time? That question changes everything. Imagine you've spent years building savings and investing consistently. Your portfolio is growing steadily, but now you're looking for something that produces cash flow instead of simply increasing in value. That's when many people discover real estate. Not necessarily a dream home, an investment. The difference is more important than it first appears. A home is primarily a place to live. An investment property is an asset designed to generate income. Instead of asking, would I enjoy living here, you start asking, will this property produce reliable returns over time? It's a completely different way of thinking. Your first rental property probably won't make you rich overnight. In fact, during the first few months, it may feel like more work than reward. There are inspections, maintenance requests, insurance policies, property taxes, unexpected repairs, leases to review, tenants to communicate with. At times, you wonder whether the investment was worth the effort. Then something remarkable happens. Each month, rent arrives. Part of it pays the mortgage, part covers expenses, and another portion quietly increases your ownership in the property. Little by little, someone else's monthly payment helps build an asset that belongs to you. The process isn't exciting. It's consistent, and consistency is where wealth usually grows. Around the same time, many entrepreneurs experience another psychological shift. Instead of operating everything personally, they begin building businesses that can function without their constant involvement. They hire managers, create systems, document processes, delegate responsibilities. The goal is no longer to do every task. The goal is to build an organization capable of producing results, even when the owner isn't personally solving every problem. This is one of the biggest differences between self-employment and business ownership. A self-employed person often owns a job. A business owner works toward owning a system. The distinction sounds subtle. Financially, it's enormous. As these systems mature, another lesson begins to emerge. Taxes. Most people see taxes as something that simply happens after they earn money. Successful investors begin seeing them differently. Not as something to avoid, but as something to understand. They learn that tax laws often encourage certain behaviors, starting businesses, investing in long-term assets, contributing to retirement accounts, or supporting charitable causes. These aren't secret loopholes reserved for the ultra-wealthy. They're legal frameworks available to anyone willing to learn how they work. That's why experienced entrepreneurs rarely make major financial decisions without consulting professionals. A good accountant doesn't magically create wealth. They help prevent unnecessary losses. A knowledgeable attorney doesn't simply prepare paperwork. They help protect what you've spent years building. Eventually, you realize that growing wealth isn't just about making smart investments. It's about building a financial structure where every part supports the others. Income supports investments. Investments generate cash flow. Cash flow purchases additional assets. Those assets create even more opportunities. The cycle begins feeding itself. This is the stage where money slowly becomes less dependent on your daily effort and more dependent on the quality of the systems you've created. You no longer ask only, how much did I earn this month? You begin asking, how many income-producing assets became stronger this month? That single change in perspective separates people who chase income from those who build lasting wealth. And yet, even this isn't the highest level of the financial game, because eventually, wealth becomes less about making money and more about protecting it, multiplying it across generations, and creating opportunities that most people never even know exist. There's a moment in every long financial journey when you realize something unexpected. The goal was never to become rich. The goal was to stop worrying about money. For years, every dollar demanded your attention. Every paycheck had a purpose before it even arrived. Every financial decision carried weight because one mistake could throw everything off balance. But if you continue making smart decisions, earning, saving, investing, and building systems, you eventually arrive somewhere very different. Money no longer dominates your thoughts. It quietly does its job in the background. That's one of the biggest differences between being wealthy and simply having a high income. High-income earners often have impressive paychecks, but their lifestyle depends on those checks continuing every month. If the income stops, the pressure eventually returns. True wealth looks different. It's built on ownership. Instead of relying on one source of income, wealth is supported by many. Businesses generate profits. Investment portfolios produce long-term growth. Rental properties create recurring cash flow. Retirement accounts continue compounding. Diversified assets reduce dependence on any single paycheck. The focus shifts from earning more to building something that keeps working without constant attention. This doesn't happen overnight. It happens after years of patient decisions that rarely look exciting in the moment. The public usually notices the outcome. They rarely see the decades of discipline behind it. As wealth grows, another interesting change takes place. Your biggest financial decisions become less emotional. You stop chasing every new investment trend. You stop chasing the need to prove anything through expensive purchases. Because confidence no longer comes from appearances, it comes from stability. You begin thinking in decades instead of months. Instead of asking, how much can I make this year? You begin asking, how can I make sure this continues for the next 20 or 30 years? That change in perspective affects every decision. You become more selective. You value consistency over excitement. You understand that protecting wealth is often just as important as creating it. This is also where legacy begins to enter the conversation, not necessarily in the form of enormous fortunes or famous family names, but in something much more meaningful: opportunity. You start thinking about how your financial decisions today might create better choices for the people who come after you. Maybe it's helping your children graduate without overwhelming debt. Maybe it's supporting causes you genuinely care about. Maybe it's creating a business that continues serving customers long after you're gone. Or maybe it's simply giving your family something many people never experience: financial stability. One lesson becomes impossible to ignore. Money itself isn't the destination. It's a tool. A very powerful tool. Used carelessly, it creates stress regardless of how much you earn. Used wisely, it creates freedom. Freedom to choose where you live. Freedom to choose how you spend your time. Freedom to choose how you spend your time. Freedom to your alternative. Freedom to your alternative. Freedom to your alternative. And perhaps the greatest freedom of all, the freedom to stop thinking about money every hour of every day. Think back to the beginning of this journey. Picture that younger version of yourself staring at a checking account with almost nothing in it. Every purchase felt risky. Every unexpected expense felt overwhelming. Every payday felt like a finish line that disappeared almost as soon as you crossed it. Now compare that person with someone who has built a diversified financial life. The biggest difference isn't the size of the bank account. It's the quality of the decisions repeated over thousands of ordinary days. Because wealth is rarely built by one brilliant investment. It's built by hundreds of small choices made consistently over many years. Saving before spending, investing before upgrading your lifestyle, learning before taking unnecessary risks, thinking like an owner instead of only an employee, and understanding that financial success isn't about looking wealthy, it's about becoming financially resilient. At every stage of life, money asks a different question. In the beginning, it asks, can you survive? Later it asks, can you manage? Eventually it asks, can you grow? And for the few who continue learning, adapting, and thinking long-term, the final question becomes, can you build something that lasts beyond you? That's the real journey. Not from $1,000 a month to $1 million a month, but from depending entirely on your paycheck to creating a financial life that gives you choices, peace of mind, and the freedom to live on your own terms. If you found this video valuable, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss future videos about building wealth, investing smarter, and mastering your financial future. Remember, your income can change your lifestyle, but your financial habits can change your life. See you in the next video.